And so, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany Justice.
I brought my own copy, Ed. You can take yours back. You want your back? There you go. All right. Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm so excited to be here and speak. It is such an honor. It is true. Today, I got to go to Phyllis's office, and we got to see a lot of amazing history, and we did spend quite a few hours. I apologize to Jennifer. I want to say thank you to Jennifer for being so patient and kind with me today, because we did spend hours pouring through boxes of information, and I think the best way to know the way to get out of this mess we are in America is to know how we started to get into this mess in America. And so Jennifer and I, thank you again, Jennifer, was very patient with me. As Ed said, my name is Tiffany Justice. I am a wife and a mother of 4. And while I start, I'll give a little nod to Phyllis. Thank you to my husband for allowing me to be here tonight. It's very kind. Yes. I have 4 children, 18, 15, 13, and 11. And like most moms, I sent my child off to school, very naive, not realizing that I was sending her off to an indoctrination camp. And I started getting involved in my child's school. And the school was very old. It was built in 1956, and we had a lot of ceilings that were falling apart, and the hallways were flooding. And I went to the principal and I said, what can we do about this? You know, you've got a lot of kids in these classrooms who have wet sneakers, and they're coming the next day and they have wet sneakers, and it's smelly and uncomfortable. And my kids have 2 pairs of shoes, but not every child has 2 pairs of shoes in the classroom. And what can we do? And she said, oh, gosh, you know, the district doesn't really like when we ask too many questions. They get very upset when we ask too many questions. And I said, well, I don't care what the district thinks of me. I'm willing to ask a lot of questions. And so I did. And they did not like me. But fast forward, I moved and I got a bunch of moms and dads together, and we advocated for that school, and we had the school repaired. And then someone said, you should really run for school board. And I said, oh, no, not me. I'm not political. I've never thought about running for office before. That's just not something, no, I don't think so. And the person came back to me, and they said, no, I really think you should run. And it happened to be the person that was holding the seat at the time. She was a registered Democrat, so take that for what you want. And she said, no, I really think that you're very effective, and you should think about running for school board. And so I did, and I won, and the Republicans were against me, and the Democrats were against me, and yet I still won with 60% of the vote in my community. Thank you. And I learned very quickly that the establishment doesn't really like outsiders. And when you're a disruptor and you're willing to disrupt the system and the way things are supposed to be, you're not always welcomed by the people on the inside, but I think the people on the outside, the normal people of America, very much like it. And I think President Trump was a wonderful example of that. Vivek Ramaswamy didn't receive the most welcome reception at the latest debate that we watched, and I think he's an example of that as well. But we are a nation of disruptors. We are a nation of people who have freedom to think and to challenge. And so I fought for that school. We were able to renovate it. I ran for school board and won, and then I found myself in a very unique position with 4 children in the public school system and an inside seat on the school board. So you can go back and forth, right? You're making policy, you're helping to, have the superintendent and then the school board attorney and staff create procedure, and then you're watching what that procedure looks like in implementation as a mom. And you get to open the backpack. I used to tell people I open a lot of backpacks, right? American moms open a lot of backpacks. And so when I ran on school board, Tina Deskovich, who's the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, and I like to say that we saw behind the education curtain, albeit probably I wish I had seen it earlier, but I hadn't. I guess I had to see it for myself, like many Americans do. But then COVID happened, and all of America saw behind the education curtain. Every mom and dad got to see the fact that their children were either learning some things that they were very concerned about, or not learning anything at all. And so we find ourselves in a very difficult position in America with nearly 2/3 of American children not reading on grade level in our schools. And yet in 2023, we will spend $850 billion, that's federal, state, and local dollars, on American education. What business do you know could have that level of failure and yet continue to be funded? Right? And so American parents are very, very concerned. School board, 2016 to 2020, Tina and I were not friends. We did not know each other. We met once at a congressional event for students. We share a member of Congress, and she said, "I like your dress," and I told her where that she could buy it. That was literally our first interaction. For the women in the room, you get it, right? So that was our first interaction. Second time we had lunch together, and we were talking about the fact that we were on the bottom side of 4-1 votes in our district, where parental rights were being completely ignored. Tina had a mom come and talk about her daughter who was deaf. She couldn't hear, she was wearing a mask, she had glasses on, she had limited vision in one of her eyes, and her glasses were fogging. And this mom was just asking for an exemption for her child. She had had a medical exemption form, and in this county where Tina was serving, all of the school board members were saying no. Her daughter couldn't see. Anyone who wears glasses and a mask knows your glasses fog when you have the mask on, and yet the answer was still no. In my community, the superintendent wanted to create a medical committee where he thought it would be a really good idea to have the director of the hospital, the health department director, and some doctors of his choosing to make medical decisions for children across the district. And I remember very clearly when I turned to him and I said, "Sir, I don't think you understand. I choose my children's pediatrician, and even then it's a recommendation." Right? Moms know, dads know, you make choices for your children. And I said in that moment, and it became the rallying cry of Moms for Liberty, we do not co-parent with the government. Our mission statement at Moms for Liberty is to unify, educate, and empower parents to defend and fight for their parental rights at all levels of government. We do this because we're fighting for the survival of America. The foundation of America is family, and the role of the parent is paramount in our lives. And so I bring hope today to you because we are building an army. In January of 2021, we launched Moms for Liberty with 2 chapters. The chapters were started by 2 moms who were in the audience, spoke at the podium when Tina and I were on the dais as school board members. Those moms stepped up. They agreed to start chapters of Moms for Liberty. It was our best idea. That's what I say to people sometimes when they criticize. It's like, it's my best idea. If you have a better idea, let's try it. It's my best idea. And now we have grown today to 300 chapters in 47 states with over 130,000 active members. The 3 states we have left are Rhode Island, Utah, and Vermont. So if you have friends in those states, please let them know. Idaho was the last state that we added, and we're very excited about that. We're set up by county. There's over 3,000 counties in the United States of America. We hope to have as many chapters. And in each chapter, we have a chapter chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. We have a voting membership block and then an associate membership block. While American moms were very busy, working, raising their children, right, putting food on the table, we didn't realize how far the government had gone from us. We didn't realize that this government doesn't work without us. And so now in the lives of all of these American moms, they realize that they need to get involved. They need to run for office, and we're helping them to do that. It's very exciting. Moms for Liberty only endorses in school board races. We're very active in school board. Tina and I, as I said, served on school boards. We endorsed in over 500 races in 2022 across the United States of America. Over half of those candidates, 275, a little bit more, won and are currently serving in office, which is very exciting for us. Thank you. Some important notes about that. 76% of the candidates that we endorsed had never run for office or served in office before. That's huge. It's a game changer. Finally, building the bench, right? Moms like me, not political, had never been political in my life. All of a sudden, now I realize how needed our involvement is. Child abuse in the classroom. I didn't know a lot about Phyllis. I was largely, as I said, unpolitical. I just hadn't been involved. I wasn't aware. And then I served in political office, and I realized how much change could happen at the local level, how important it is to have people serving at that local level. And once I started Moms for Liberty, this book ended up in my hands. It was a woman that I know in my community who said, you really need to read Child Abuse in the Classroom. I don't know how many people in this room have ever picked up this book before, but if you read nothing else, read the foreword. It could have been written today. In 1984, and I'll read just the first paragraph to you, Phyllis wrote, "A remarkable real-life drama took place in 7 American cities during March 1984. Hundreds of parents traveled to one of 7 locations to testify at U.S. Department of Education hearings on proposed regulations for the protection of pupil rights amendment." So 1,300 pages of testimony from parents across the United States about the fact they were extremely concerned about the turn that American public education was taking. They were seeing things happening in the classroom, they were hearing things from their children, and they were very, very concerned. And Phyllis and many others worked to create an amendment so that we could have more protection for our students in schools, the Pupil Protection Rights Act. I wish I could tell you that it had solved all of our issues, but it didn't. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and I think American parents, to a certain degree, became complacent and weren't as involved as we needed to be. At the time when this was written, one of the most remarkable things that I took away from it was the fact that the teachers' unions fought against it. Today in the archives, I was able to see some of the communication from the National Education Association to their membership regarding this threat of parental rights. I'm a very scary person. Some might say a domestic terrorist. I am not. I reject that. But I mean, if this is the face of domestic terrorism, my goodness. American parents are awake now. But a lot of other people, American parents share a lot of different ideals. And during the time when the testimony was taken, there wasn't anyone really supporting what was happening in the classroom. It was happening, the federal government was making it happen, right? The teachers' unions were supporting it. But you didn't see an outpouring of support for this values education that we were seeing across the United States. That's different now. In 40 years' time, public opinion has been changed. And I don't think the United States Department of Education will hold hearings again. I don't really think they give a hoot what we have to say, to be honest. We've seen that firsthand. But if we did, I think there would be a lot of people that would be supporting the teaching happening in schools. We're seeing that all over the country. What does that mean for us as a nation? The teachers' unions, the federal government, the elite establishment has been able to change the hearts and minds of Americans. It's very concerning. And we're seeing a wedge being driven between the parent and the child in the classroom that I'd like to say is unique, but it's not. Alex will speak next. I know he will tell us that this has been, we have come to a boiling point where this has been a steady drive to this moment. But now we're awake. What are we going to do with that information? And so I'm excited to be here and to be among so many people that are hopeful and that are still staying engaged and involved and want to make a difference. We currently now, earmuffs, great children who probably hear a lot, so I'm going to just go for what I was going to say and not worry too much. Women's liberation, this idea of female liberation, has brought us to a moment of crisis. Does anyone wonder, has this women's liberation movement failed? We have evidence of this. We have young girls who don't want to grow up to be women, who are willing to stop their puberty, who are willing to take cross-sex hormones, who are willing to alter their bodies in horrific ways, just not to become women. This is what women's liberation brought us? This is what feminism brought us? That these young girls don't want to grow up to be a mother and a wife? To be a woman? That is failure. And we must show it at every turn. At Moms for Liberty, we have another saying beyond We do not co-parent with the government. We talk about being joyful warriors. And in my learning about Phyllis and everything that she stood for, one of the things that I have taken away from it is that she always had a very good sense of humor, and she always had a smile on her face. We talk a lot about being a joyful warrior at Moms for Liberty. I'll tell you, when I was serving on school board in 2020, I was angry. I was angry a lot. I was very upset and frustrated at how the government was willing to take away our rights and freedoms, and at how willing my fellow elected officials were to abdicate their authority to bureaucrats. And they took away our voice. And so I really took a step back and I thought about, what will this activism look like moving forward? Will I be angry all the time? Will my children grow up and remember me just being this angry person who was fighting all the time? Or will they remember me being someone that was making change happen? And so we talk about being a joyful warrior at Moms for Liberty. And so I will leave you with this, my joyful warrior cry. I am going to fight like hell for America, with a smile on my face, because my children are watching, and these children are watching, and it is a privilege to fight for this country. People have died fighting for our freedom. And so at the very least, what we can do is step up and serve in local office. And this change doesn't happen from Washington, D.C. It's not going to happen quickly by electing a new president. This change has to happen in every backyard, in every family across the United States of America. And so I'm very proud to lead this amazing group of men and women across the country. If you've never heard about Moms for Liberty before, I hope that you go online, momsforliberty.org, and you look it up. There's a big map there. You click on the map on your state, you will see the chapters, the counties where we have chapters. If we don't have a chapter in your county, please click to start one. Perhaps it's not you that is the chapter leader. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's your cousin. But it's going to take all of us to make this change happen. And so thank you to Ed for giving me the privilege of seeing Phyllis's offices today, seeing the library, seeing the archives, digging into the information. And I promise you, my commitment to you is that we will not stop fighting. We will be relentless in our pursuit of freedom and liberty, and we will empower other women and men to serve in office as well. Thank you for your time today.
Well, we have some work to do this weekend, too. As you know, we get nominations from our Eagles, our leaders for, come on, John, Eagle Awards. And this time we have a special Eagle Award for Tiffany because she kind of has everything, so she didn't need the regular framed one. So we have this Eagle Award. But there's three things, Tiffany. This is a big deal. Phyllis Schlafly, her Eagle Awards were for dedicated service to God, family, and country. And extraordinary things that she did. She believed also in identifying those who have helped so much. So this is very cool. This is the original PSR, a reproduction of the Phyllis Schlafly report from 1967. And in the year before she died, someone on her staff had the wherewithal to have her autograph some things. So this is the original PSR, the one that launched it all, autographed by Phyllis Schlafly. So that's for you to have for your, yep. And then, somewhere in America right now, it's homecoming. And so this is the Eagle pin. So you get issued your pin. It's being like pinned here. And this is Phyllis. Because it's Phyllis, she designed this pin. She didn't just get a good pin that looks cool. She went and actually designed it and had the drawings done and had it made up and has it trademarked and everything else. And it's her pin that you'll see some of, like Marilyn's got hers on. You'll see in this. Here, grab that, John, right there. Bring that over here. You see it in this. Phyllis was never without the Eagle pin. It's one of the few things that those idiots at Mrs. America did right. They had the pin on her. It wasn't the same one, but they had the pin on it. So this is for you, for your office.
Oh my goodness.
And then this is your pin. And we thank you for everything you're doing. So you stand here in the middle with John. John wants pictures.